Okay, the court is back in session in cause number 332-434, case of style of state of Texas versus Luca Alexander Paul. Mr. Paul was previously sworn in. Mr. Paul entered a plea of guilty to now, Mr. Paul, you entered a plea of guilty to the charge of driving while intoxicated. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Paul's attorney, who is Mr. Dustin Galmore, he has waived the record in this case. And Mr. Paul, on state's exhibit number 1, which is the misdemeanor plea admonishment, on page 1, it states that this is a class A misdemeanor, range of punishment, confinement in jail for term not to exceed 1 year, fine not to exceed $4,000 or both such fine and confinement. And on page 2, Mr. Paul, there are a set of initials, LP, that are on a line next to a box that says check guilty. On the next page, now, did you place your initials on this document, Mr. Paul?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of this same document, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Mr. Paul, did you place your signature above the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Paul, on the next document that's titled trial court certification of defendant's right of appeal, there's a signature above the line that's titled defendant. Did you also sign this document?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Paul, at the top of the same document, there are 2 boxes that's checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box states that you're waiving your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Paul, did you sign a document out there on paper that is titled trial court certification? Excuse me, that's on paper that's titled discovery certification.
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Paul, before you sign and initial these documents, did your attorney, Mr. Galmore, go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Paul, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Paul, well, state. I have before me state's exhibit number 1. State, you like to offer states 1?
Yes, sir. State offer states 1.
Any objections?
No objection.
No objection. State's exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Now, Mr. Galmore, you've advised and counseled Mr. Paul. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Paul, your attorney, Mr. Galmore, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Paul, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
In exchange for the defendant's plea in this case, the state's recommending 180 days confinement in the Jefferson County Jail. However, we're asking that the court suspend the imposition of that jail sentence and place the defendant on community supervision for a period of 24 months. Order that he pay a $1,000 fine, that he perform 80 hours of community service restitution, in addition to the standard conditions of probation, that he also comply with the DWI conditions that include a interlock, DWI education, and also a drug and alcohol assessment, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Paul, the state is offering that you serve 180 days in the Jefferson County Jail. However, you will not have to serve any time in the Jefferson County Jail in this case, because you'll be placed on probation for 2 years, which is 24 months. You'll also be required to pay a fine of $1,000 plus court costs, and the court cost in this case is $457. You will also be required to pay a probation fee of $60 each month, a urinalysis fee of $15 each month, and you will also be required to pay the Jefferson County DWI education class an initial evaluation fee of $125 on the day of the plea. Should a further evaluation be needed, you'll be required to pay an additional $50. The total amount that you'll be required to pay each month while you're on probation is $140. Mr. Paul, will you be able to pay the $140 each month?
Yes, sir.
You will also be required to perform 80 hours of community service. You'll be required to attend and complete a DWI education class, and you'll be required to have an alcohol assessment. You'll also be required to install a DWI interlock device on any vehicle that you own or operate. You'll be required to adhere to the standard terms and conditions of your probation. Mr. Paul, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, Mr. Paul, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Paul, this will conclude your case. Please follow the bailiff, and you have a blessed day.
Yes, sir, you as well.
All right, and Mr. Delmore, this is your only case. You're free to go as well. You have a blessed day.
Thank you, Judge. I think I'm going to cover one case for Mr. Gilthorpe here in a minute. I'm going to see if I can get Klon Williams resolved.
Okay. All right, Mr. Okay, you're free to go. You have a blessed day.